guess at some of these that you might be doing, or to cope with multiple updates or multiple inserts and the like. So the general principle is to be explicit. What you're doing is already defined by the protocol. What you want to do is already defined by whether or not you're saying get, post, put, or delete to it. So there's no need to sort of name your method, if you like, at the other side to sort of reflect that. They're already defined in the sort of protocol, and we use nouns in the URIs rather than verbs. So rather than saying do an update or do an insert student, update product or something like that, you just identify the one that you want. So you do a post on a particular product ID, and you know that that post is creating a new product for it. So we keep this interface generalised and avoid the clients being explicit, not defining verbs or remote procedures inside the actual sort of name to it. It's all done as part of both a combination of the verb that you're using in your HTTP request and the parameters that you're passing are part of that URL itself. So as I say, it's quite different to using a standard approach to it. Once you get used to it, it's just as easy to do. Go back to when you were first sort of learning about using an HTTP one and the question mark and the ampersand and that sort of a string of a URL to it. Some people are still managing to get that wrong. The number of problems that I'm seeing when people say, oh my server call doesn't work, and then you actually look at the URL and there's a missing ampersand or a missing question mark or something, or they put a space in it. There's all sorts of little sort of problems over that. A lot of problems do come out of doing it until people sort of get used to using it. So that's one approach, and we'll sort of see that in the lab. Now what it means is that this thing is going to send across either a sort of get, a put, a post, or this delete type operation, together with its bit of data to send. Now at the other side, your controller, just like the Tomcat controller, has got to decipher a standard HTTP call, and where you've got this question mark, city equals Manchester, ampersand, formats equals JSON or something like that. What the Tomcat thing has got to do is to say, well, here's the resource, these are the parameters. We've got things like these separators between the parameters, between the different sort of sets of them. We've got an equals sign between the name value pairs, and it creates you, in terms of Java, a parameters set of objects, so that you can eventually say in your code at the other side, get parameter for city, and it will sort of pick those out to it. So that's what's sort of being done by that server in the background, that when you do an HTTP call, you're breaking apart that URL into a list of parameters that you can then just use inside your controller. Now unfortunately, perhaps fortunately, if you're going to send them in a completely different format, Apache only recognises that. It only recognises that way of saying things. Just like at the moment you only recognise things in a certain way that I'm giving you now. I can, and I think I may have given out earlier on in the year, a little thing about sort of, if I said, say, okay, the black cat. You understand that because you understand the rules of grammar for English, as saying you can have an adjective before a noun. So that's how you sort of say it. You don't say the cat black. That makes it look like it's a verb. You know, like the cat was sick, or the cat stared or something. to it. By putting something after the noun, that's where you put verbs to it. Now that's what's built in the grammar of your language to you. That's how you understand it. But if I said it in something in another language, the chanois, that's okay in French, because in French you have the noun followed by the adjective. You don't say le noir chat. It's a common mistake of when you learn in sort of another language, you put it in a different way. And it is the same in other different ones of how you do it. But they've all got their own way, their own way of organising the data you're trying to get across. And Tomcat is expecting it in that format. It's expecting it in a certain sort of format. So if you send it in a different format, this RESTful one, it's not going to understand it. So what you're going to have to do is write a different controller. You're going to have a controller that expects it to look for a GET request, a POST request. I mean, Tomcat doesn't even think about using put and delete. It recognises GET and POST. And in fact, you do have this do-GET method and the do-POST method. That's sort of looking. How many of you ever sort of done a do-put method or a do-delete method? Even though you might be actually sort of wanting to do that. So we need to have something in the controller that recognises these RESTful requests for it. And that's what's one of the things that's going to be coming out in the lab, is about how you sort of set your controller up to do that. This other sort of aspect, going away from the sort of actual verb to use, something called a stateless transaction. To date, we've used stateful transactions. Remember where you were in the last time. So say perhaps you're having some sort of shopping basket and the client keeps adding things to the shopping basket, then the server's maintaining that shopping basket list. Now I'm going to have to just create a bit of extra space over here. I realise I've just been drawing out some things. So say how you might sort of currently work between a client and a server. You have something like add, and then you start to add things to your shopping basket. Over here, you have some shopping, and you sort of have things that you've built up in here: toys, bread, milk, clothes. You're sort of going around Amazon. You're slowly clicking things in your browser, and you're saying something like add milk to this, or add something into your shopping basket. And so what the server's doing is maintaining this list of what you sort of got for it, like a state variable. So the next time you come in, you're adding sort of to it. Now that's okay if you're always talking to the same server to it. So if you can imagine that you're all servers to me, and I decide to say, okay, Mike, here's something to add to the shopping list to it. And then Mike decides to get up and go away for it. He disappears. Who's going to deal with my sort of shopping list then to it? And what you end on, and this is a real situation in a sort of cloud situation, where you've got multiple servers, all supposedly able to be accessed by one client, and if one server disappears, they've got to be able to go to another one. Now what that means is that everybody's got to maintain that shopping basket. Now that's starting to get a bit wasteful for it. If I said, okay, there's a sort of shopping basket and this is computer 1, my cloud may have computer 2, computer 3, computer 4, all the way up to computer 1000. And for some reason, the next time I go, and I say, can you just update my shopping basket, and it's in this particular computer's state for it, the others don't have it, then possibly I'm going to have to replicate that across them. Because normally between the client and the server, you've got something to a load balancer that decides which computer to go to, which server to actually sort of go to according to what the load's like. And as I say, in a cloud situation, you get multiple ones of these springing up as needed. Now, already you can hopefully think, that's going to get sort of tricky to maintain. Because what happens when one of these goes offline and then comes back again later on? How does it know what the current state is, and how long does it take to update all those sort of states to it? So it's in a large enterprise level system. It's okay if you've got sort of a small one, just one server, doing it, no problem. Multiple thousands of them, then it is a sort of problem. And the idea of being stateless is that you keep all the data that you want in the one request. You keep your shopping basket in one request for it. There are other ways as well, but basically what this means is it doesn't matter who you ask then, because they've got all the information they need. It's not in some sort of temporary storage for them. And it makes it a lot easier on load balancing ones or gateways to different sort of machines to sort of work with. It improves the web performance a lot. And it can actually sort of simplify the sort of design of it. So in a stateful transaction, your client might be saying, okay, can you go to the next page? Right, you're sort of browsing down a catalogue, rather than this shopping sort of thing here. You've got some sort of catalogue of things that you're browsing down, page after page of results. Quite often sort of doing that, browsing sort of down. So you're asking to get